Welcome to the Leadership Surgery, where we operate on your biggest leadership challenges. You share your pain points anonymously if you prefer, and our surgeons will diagnose and dissect before offering some recommended treatment. Scrubbing in today, we've got Anthony Taylor. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Great to see you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you.
Good. I would love to know from you today, to kick off our conversation, something light-hearted and slightly loaded. I'd like to know your favourite misheard lyric of all time. There's all sorts of different misheard song lyrics, aren't there, throughout history. What would be your favourite misheard song lyric?
It is, it's the, who sang Smooth Operator?
Sade.
Sade. And I thought for years it was Smooth of the Red Eye.
Smooth of the red eye.
Honestly, you will never hear Smooth Operator again now when you listen to that.
I like it. Very good.
Yeah.
Sally Bryce is also scrubbing in. Hi, Sally.
Hey.
Lovely to see you too. Do you have a favourite misheard song lyric?
I do, but it's actually one me and my brother used to sing. We used to think "Hot in the City" was "Hawk Jimmy, Hawk Jimmy, Jimmy tonight." So I used to sing "Hawk Jimmy, Jimmy" for years.
Nice. I love how some of these, they don't really make any sense at all, but we get fixed on that. That's what we think it is. Love that, Sally. Thank you. Daniel Finn. Hello, my friend.
Hello. How's
Great
everyone?
to have you. Yeah, all good. Great to have you back. I'm sure you've got a favourite misheard song lyric.
Yeah, and I think I've only actually realised how wrong I was with this very recently. And it's Tiny Dancer, Elton John.
Yeah.
And I always thought it said, "Hold me close, young Tiny Dancer." So it's like, "Hold me close, young Tiny Dancer."
I mean, that sounds wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is it, Sam. And then he starts thinking, I can't sing that really anymore. He can't be singing that. And then I think it was on. We got the subtitles on the TV, and it was on the backing. It was on as a backing track, and it comes up, "Hold me closer, Tiny Dancer." I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes more sense."
Don't feel quite as bad singing that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I ask you all this question. It's a slightly loaded question because over the weekend, my 10-year-old started singing a song which will be known to many, and was singing it at full volume and giving it some in the shower the other night. And me and my wife thought this was very funny. He was singing "Defying Gravity" from Wicked, if you know that.
Yeah.
I do.
But what his slant on it was really enjoyable, because he sang, "You're gonna die defying gravity." I thought, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, anyone that goes to take that on, yeah, that is a very likely outcome.
What should the lyric be?
Well, it varies different parts of the song. I know at one point it says, "Kiss you goodbye, defying gravity" is one part of it.
Right.
I think there's a few different things that it sings, but I just loved, "You're gonna die defying gravity." Yep, absolutely. You are indeed.
Hold on,
Quite
Paul.
a tune that. It's a big tune. Yeah.
We've been talking about how we've got lyrics wrong, and you've just pinned it on your son. So what's your lyric?
Oh, good. Come back, Dan. Yeah.
Dan.
That's fair. Honestly, I'm on the spot now. I'm not very good at lyrics. I get lyrics wrong all the time, and I am a bit like you shared, Sally, with your "Hot Jimmy." I'll just make up words and phrases and fill them. I regularly, when we have music on in our house, I regularly will say to my wife, What are they singing there? What do they sing?" And that is a guise for, I've been singing the wrong thing, I think. What do you normally sing? Fortunately, she often doesn't say, "Why? What are you singing?" So I get away with it. But I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. Maybe if something comes to me during our conversation, I'll just randomly drop it in, even if it makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so you'll have to bear with me, I'm afraid. Okay. We'll move on. Let's get into our topic today, which has been submitted to us by Vicky. So Vicky is our patient, and here's what Vicky has to say. I'm part of a senior leadership team with 2 other women, and we all report to the same director. I've always loved my job and believed in what we're doing, but lately things have become really difficult. One of my peers has clearly taken a dislike to me. She started leaving me out of conversations, whispering to the other colleague in meetings, and excluding me from decisions that I should be part of. The atmosphere is awful, and I feel like I'm walking on eggshells every day. Our director knows there's tension, but his response was basically, "You're all senior enough to sort it out yourselves." The truth is, I've tried, but it's getting worse. I'm dreading meetings, struggling to sleep, and it's starting to affect my confidence. I don't want to leave, but I can't keep working like this. What do I do when a peer relationship turns toxic and I feel completely unsupported? Thank you in advance. Vicky. Thank you, Vicky, for sharing this, and first and foremost for your vulnerability. Not easy to share it. What symptoms have we got here? What's jumping out at you, everyone? Where would you like to start with this?
My message to Vicky, if I may, is to say, I hear this quite a lot, so she's not alone. I have a number of coaching clients over the last certainly few months, but certainly the last couple of years, where a variation of this has been an issue that they've brought to the coaching session. So it's not uncommon, and quite high levels as well, like board director level.
So you're not on your own. Yeah, some reassurance. Yeah. Sal, what about you?
Oh God, I just absolutely hate this kind of stuff. I think, Ant is right. There's lots of examples in my own kind of coaching conversations, but also I've got kind of personal experience of this, and it just is so awful. So my first thing to Vicky is, I'm so sorry, because I think what you start to feel when you're in this situation is that it's you and it's somehow your fault. And it can be very isolating, and it can erode your confidence. So first of all, just to say, to your point, Paul, thank you for being vulnerable, because other people, will appreciate maybe this conversation. But it's essentially just, bullying, and I feel quite when I kind of hear examples like this, because I think, we need to be, you hope, don't you, that when you're in the corporate environment, we've grown up from school, we don't have to deal with bullies and people like this. And that actually, if something has upset us, or there's maybe something that Vicky has done, or something this other person believes has triggered it, that we're able to have that conversation and sort it out, rather than, resorting to isolation or freezing somebody out or whatever it might be to get your point. And I know with my own personal experience, I tried so many things to try and, because I naturally get on with people, it absolutely floored me when somebody, just for what appeared no reason, just did not like me, and it was hard.
Yeah,
really hard.
This is something which equally makes me quite angry. I don't think I get angry very often, but I really don't like exclusion. I don't like people feeling excluded. I think I might have mentioned that on a previous podcast. It's something that was drilled into me at an early age, I think, and I value it highly, of trying to bring people close rather than keep them at a distance, and include them in what's going on, as it were. This makes me really, really frustrated. Thankfully, I can't think of a time when I've had a personal experience of being on the receiving end of it, unless I've just blacked it out and forgotten about it. But yeah, frustrates
I've been
me.
on the receiving end as well. Yeah, with a boss actually who was using it as an approach to try and get me to quit, so she didn't have to pay me off.
Right.
And I basically just stuck it out until the point where they ended up offering me a compromise agreement in 6 months.
All right.
I can't believe
it was really tough.
I just can't believe this stuff goes on. And I know it does, but it just pisses me off. Like, when you read through Vicky's statement there, it's like everything that you've said around it's bullying. It's bullying. It's like playground stuff. But then it's like she's also tried to do something about it and taken the professional approach and taken the high ground and probably spoken to her peers on a professional level, right, what's going on here? Because you don't have to like everybody that you work with, but for the success of the company, you've got to get on. You've got to still deliver what you need to deliver to make the wheels go round.
Yeah.
And the fact that the director's not stepping in, it's just
That's
like
weak leadership.
Oh, it's just like it is. We don't want to get involved in here. Don't want to. Yeah, don't want to muddy my hands with this.
It's just application. That is.
Yes,
that is.
exactly.
This it feels a bit clunky and a bit too spicy and difficult, and therefore I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
And I know my own experience because it was with another woman, and I had a male boss as well. I think there was a little bit of was this two women who just can't, sort their stuff out. It's a bit bitchy. And actually, we kind of really needed him to kind of help. And I think that the leader has a responsibility to get involved, because also I think I know Vicky hasn't alluded to this as such, but I'm sure it will be the case because it happened to me. Your teams, because you're the senior leadership team, your teams will start to pick up on, some of these vibes, and they will start to, again, in my case, it was almost back me, therefore be a bit difficult with the other leaders team, almost to kind of rally support with me, but I didn't want them to do that. But then it was like, oh my God, we can't have this because we're the senior leadership team and people kind of know this stuff is going on, even though it's not talked about. Then we're almost giving permission for people to behave badly because we're not sorting it out ourselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It becomes permeate, and it's like what what we allow persists, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really clear here, which is a very serious issue. The culture that is being permitted is toxic. It's really dangerous for not just these people who are, and I know I'm putting this very lightly and flippantly, who are falling out, but actually everyone within, everyone beyond them. It's an issue there as well. Until it is called out, that behaviour, as unacceptable as we might think it is, remains acceptable. It remains to be considered acceptable because it's allowed, it's permitted. And until it's challenged, until it's called out, it can just persist. I mean, can we just go? Let's take a step back here. I know Vicky has mentioned in what she said. She says that she's tried doing something, and we don't know exactly what she's tried, or dare I even say how much she's tried. I'm not wanting to belittle your efforts, Vicky, but in terms of treating this, is the recommended treatment first and foremost, have another go? Is it do something about it? Try to engage with the others?
I think so. If I go back to some of the more recent, a coaching client that came, she had a very similar issue. And one of the things that she decided to do was to go back and actually try and hold her boundaries a bit more. So she was quite firm, went back quite firm with these individuals to say, look, I know what you're doing. I won't stand for this. We need to try and have a conversation around it. But it was to just reaffirm, and it took a lot of courage, because when your confidence starts being hit, it can be quite challenging. But I think calling out the behaviour, having an upfront conversation with someone, I'm not going to tolerate this, so we need to find a way through this. Otherwise, we're going to have to look to say, what do we do? So she initially went back and did that, and had an initial amount of success with that. It went on for a while, but I think for Vicky, it is, for me, it's about reaffirming. She's got to try and kind of, got a good friend of mine, Kerry, who's talked about pulling on a big girl pants and actually confronting this adult to adult and say, I'm not going to tolerate this behaviour. Reassert some boundaries about expectations about behaviour would be my first port of call.
And that's not always easy, is it? Not only because it's an uncomfortable conversation, but also I'm thinking it's not always easy to frame that conversation, to set it up and say, because you've got to be so careful with your words to make sure you don't exacerbate the problem further, and yet you do help to bring it out into the open to discuss. And for me, I'm thinking about saying, here's what I want to talk to you about, and here's what I'm looking for as as an outcome, and make that really clear. Does that sound okay? And make that as the starting point, right? This is what it is that we need to talk about, and here's what I'm looking for as an outcome. And then, can you agree that that would be a beneficial thing to do? Which I think is quite difficult for a person to say no to without them effectively agreeing to, no, there is an issue which I have generated and I want it to continue, which of course is going to sound even more childish. So I just wonder whether there's the framing of that needs to be right.
I think you're absolutely right. I think my bits to wrap around that is think about where you have this conversation. So I know where my conversations have gone better with things like this is where maybe we've gone for a walk. So almost being side by side with each other, or maybe if they're in a situation where they travel between sites, or, sometimes people travel together, or they could manufacture that. I think just not having the eyeball to eyeball can almost take a little bit of pressure off. And I think doing it side by side and walking, maybe if you can as well, do it in nature, go from, end it with a coffee or
neutral territory.
Yeah, try and, and I would be, I know we've talked about curiosity a lot and this isn't, to say that it's Vicky's fault, but I think, certainly from my own experience, I've tried to explore, help me understand, have I done something, or this is the vibe that I'm getting, I get the feeling that, I'm being talked about, or that you're not happy with me. This is what I notice, what's your point of view? Because I think if you keep it curious, and you keep it open rather than going in, well, this is how it needs to be and this is how we are. I think that needs to come in terms of the boundaries. But I think that starting point is really important, because there might be something inadvertently Vicky's done. And like you say, she might have already done this bit. But I think for other people, experiencing this and going through it as well, I do think start with some curiosity, take yourself to a setting where it's a bit more neutral, and also get yourself in a good emotional state. Where you are probably, because if it is going to turn juicy, you've got to think about, am I in the best place to have this conversation as well? Go on, Dan. Yeah.
I completely agree with everything that you've said. I would be saying to Vicky, don't bother. And the reason being is she seems to be...
Don't bother having the conversation?
No, I'm coming from the other end of the spectrum here. She's clearly the only person in this group of people, of senior people, including the director, who is taking a grown-up approach to this. So if I was Vicky, I'm questioning myself here. I'm already low on confidence. I'm not sleeping right. I've tried to do this a little bit. Okay, we don't know how much detail, but do I actually want to work for this organization and this company? Do I want to really make the effort to try and fix all this, when actually I'm still going to be working with the same peers who've already shown this kind of behavior? I'm still going to be working for this director who's already shown this behavior. Is this what I want to do? So and I think that's where she needs to start. Not almost trying to repair the relationships, you know what I mean? Like try and get things working with the team. Is like, I think she needs to start with, is this what I truly want? Because it's clearly having a knock-on effect to her now. So
I guess that's a great point, actually.
Start with self.
Yeah.
And if you want to go any further, then go down the route what you guys have just said, because I think that is a logical approach, and it is the grown-up thing to do. The fact that we're talking, the language for using on this podcast about grown-up adult conversations, it baffles me that we have to, give this kind of advice. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Danny made a good point, because actually just trying that on, if she then decides yes it is, that might then give her the confidence to go, actually this is something I'm willing to fight for.
Yeah
So actually you might be I've gone through that thought process. I do want to stay, I do care about what we do, whatever it is, because we don't know the organization she's working in. It might be very purpose driven, and one of the things that I've done with some of our coaching clients when we've had these conversations and presented them is go, actually, why is this so important to you? To your point, Dan. And they've gone, actually, because of X, Y, and Z, great. And just that thought process has given clients that confidence to go, yeah, actually, this fight matters enough for me. I'm going to have it. And one or two have gone, not anymore. I'm going to look for an exit. Yeah. So actually, I think Dan's a really good point.
And as much as it is tough to say, I don't want to say throw in the towel, but I don't want to work here anymore. It sounds like Vicky's is senior in this organization or this company. So her experience is going to she'll be able to get another job at this level because her experience dictates that. So I know that's a tough thing to say because you need that confidence to go with it, and it's always tough to find a new job. But you've almost got to have a little bit of confidence that that's okay.
I think you're good to raise it, Dan, because I know certainly from my own experience, I went through that. I definitely went through there. Do you know what? I have tried with this stuff and it's just not improving. And actually, this is starting to now affect how I feel about myself. And before it almost got to the point that you're alluding to, that I'd completely lost my confidence, it was, do I go? Now, actually, I decided to stay because I came to the point of view, look, everybody's different. So there isn't necessarily a right or wrong. You've got to do what's right for you. I got to a point where I just thought, do you know what? I know that I'm doing all the right things and I will always meet, I nearly said the person's name then, I will always meet people like this. And I want to see if there's a way around it, or for me to build my own strategies of how to deal with it, because unfortunately, there are people like this in other teams. And so that was my reconcile. And actually, my situation, this person ended up kind of peeing off so many people. She got outed and they paid her off and got her out because she was so toxic. But that took 18 months. Yeah. And that was tough.
I think the other thing, sorry, Paul, to go very quickly, is keep a record of it. Keep a record of every particular situation, because if this does go south and it ends up in the hands of HR and other bits and pieces, I think Vicky really needs to keep a record of every time she's been excluded from a meeting or decision that she should have been part of, patterns of behaviour. I think that's really important too.
Yeah, I agree, Ant, because the only thing I was going to just come back to with what you said, Dan, which I don't disagree with at all, is just making sure that if you make that decision of I'm just going to walk away, I'm not going to bother, you don't want to end up in a situation further down the line where you have I wish I'd done, or I wish I'd tried, and you have a sense of regret. Of course, this is such a highly emotive topic, and the emotions are very raw, and it's easy to just think in extremes, I think, a lot of the time, which is why what you've said, Ant, is really valuable. Coming back to, so for example, when Vicky, if you say that to yourself, I've tried, well, write down, you don't have to tell anyone, but write down when and where you have tried. If you can't get more than 2 things, there's probably room to try a bit more, or try again, or try something different. If you've got a list of 10 things, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried the other, and you're still not getting anywhere, then maybe you are closer to that point of saying, why is this worth any more of my time and attention? I'm just conscious that sometimes the emotion is what drives it for us. And because of that, we're often quick to say, I've tried this and it hasn't worked. In the same way that people say, oh, I've tried getting hold of Dan and he hasn't come back to me. Well, what have you tried? I've sent him 1 email. Well, try a bit harder than that. In the same way with this, it can be easy to tell ourselves we have given it a go when actually there might be more that we can do. Now, of course, we don't know the ins and outs of that. Vicky, that's for you to decide some of that. But I think that's a helpful prompt, and to document, what have I done? Where have I done it? And is there any more that I could do? Sal?
And I think we haven't really discussed the leader much as yet either.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to give a bit of voice to that, because I think, again, if we've got people who know in their teams they've got some of this kind of difficulty and relationship dynamic going on, they need to step in. They need to say, this is not okay. I can see what's going on. What do we need to do to resolve it? Do you two need to have a conversation? Do I need to get involved? Do we need to talk about kind of what values and what behaviours are acceptable, because this is not okay. And I would be that strong and that clear with, I'm not going to tolerate it.
Absolutely.
And I think that we've the senior person that needs to make sure that they are involved. And if you, like I say, if you're listening and you've got teams where this is going on, it is your responsibility. Each part in that relationship should take some action, definitely.
I think, to that point, it sounds like this guy isn't interested in doing that. And maybe there's a third party here, which is HR, after everything that, Vicky tries some of the things that we talked about, trying again a bit harder to reach out and meet these people where they are, try and understand what's going on. If that still falls on deaf ears, and the director's still not interested, then it might be a question of going to HR, seeing if there's some kind of mediation third party that they, because this does need looking at. But if the director's, going AWOL, then is there an HR facility that she can go to go, we need some kind of mediation around this?
Yeah, ultimately, director, Mr. Director, whoever you are, stop being a cowardly lion, right? Grow up a bit and get involved, because you're not leading at all. This isn't leadership at all. This is abdication. You are washing your hands of a situation that, trying to play it off as well. You should be able to deal with this. Clearly, they can't deal with it, and therefore, it is your responsibility. Step in, strap on a pair and deal with it, because it's utterly ridiculous, I think, that he's allowing this to continue and fester and thinking in any way. Well, in fact, no, I was going to say thinking that they can sort it out for themselves. Be honest with yourself. You don't think they can sort it out with yourselves. You just don't want to deal with it yourself.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to grow up yourself, really, and just get involved. Getting angry now. Starting to get frustrated.
The point I was laughing at was
it's coming out.
This is interesting. This is the most emotive all four of us have got about any topic on this podcast, because we've all experienced it. Either directly, side and I as well, or we've seen it happen with other people, and we just it's that. Well, it's just interesting, isn't it?
We're getting into some recommended treatments already, which is great. I mean, one thing that I'd want to put across here, and this is something I think is so simple and yet very valuable. Most teams don't have an agreed way to disagree. They don't have, they've never sat down, and leader, whoever you are in whatever position you're in, this is something you can take ownership of. Get your team together, even if you've got a high flying team who all get along and things are going really well. Get your team together, and at some point in one of your get togethers, ask the question, how do we agree to disagree? That is, how do we agree to handle conflict here? And then have a discussion about it, make a few notes on it, ultimately come up with something that can be part of your team charter if you do one of those things, to agree this is how we handle it. Because then you've got something to hold everyone to account to, so you can keep coming back to, we don't do the bitching and arguing here, instead we do this. And I'm staggered by how many teams I come across globally who have never done this. And I think until you do it, it's a big risk, massive risk.
That's a really good point, Paul.
And I think my build on that, Paul, would be maybe initially, once you've talked it through, then pick something real to talk about. But maybe initially make it something like, how are we going to increase sales, or, how are we going to improve customer service? So we then say, okay, we think this is how we should do it. Let's apply it to something real. And then almost at the end of the meeting, how did we do? Did that feel comfortable? What felt uncomfortable? What would we do differently next time? And once people start to build that muscle of kind of being able to debate with each other and feeling psychologically safe to do it, they then might want to tiptoe into, what about our behaviours and kind of the way that we are with each other, or tackle some more juicy topics, but kind of build their kind of confidence in being able to do that effectively with all of them. Sorry, Ange, do you want to make a point about that? Because I was going to give another, some things to think about. Mine was also appealing to the person on the other side of Vicky. So I think, we're probably can all, well, it sounds like we all relate to Vicky and feel kind of very, sorry for her, because it is a horrible situation to be in. But I think if I put myself in the other people's shoes, maybe if I was trying to be kind to them, maybe something has happened, or something has kind of brought this jealousy or something to the surface. I think that if you find yourself in that state where a colleague has annoyed you or frustrated you, or something has happened, try and believe that most people act with the best of intention. Most. And maybe this person hasn't realised they've said something, they've done something. Nip things in the bud. Go and deal with it. Don't let it fester in resentment and then start to let it leak out by, being horrible or nasty. It's not good for anyone. And I think the question to ask yourself is, if I met myself at the beginning of my career, would I be proud of the leader I've become? You know, if you're in a senior leadership position, would I have want to be led by someone like you are today? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
you need to hold the mirror up and just say, am I proud of who I am and the way that I behave? Because that for me is the only way to really look inward and to consider whether your strategies are really aligned to your values and who you are.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd go a step further, Sal, and say that I don't think there might be something that's triggered this off. There is something.
Yes,
Something
yeah,
has.
yeah.
It
Well,
might be.
especially-
It might be really small and
Yes.
seemingly minor, but something will have, and that it might not be Vicky's fault at all. It might be something else somewhere else. But you can guarantee eventually you follow that thread, you'll get to you'll find the knot eventually of where the problem
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think thinking about what does this lady want? So all human behavior is designed to give us something.
Mhm.
What is it this individual wants? Is it an apology for some perceived slight? Or is it, can she find out what does she want?
Mm.
Yeah.
And people, you ask a few times, people often tell you what they really want.
Yeah.
And then my own last bit talking about recommendations will be seriously consider seeing if she can access use of a coach, because a good coach will help her reflect on this and maybe ask her some challenging conversation questions, a bit like we've had, and help her think this through. But there's nothing worse, I think, than being stuck in your own head with this.
Yeah.
And she's not got anywhere else to go to, it appears.
Yeah.
So I would think, having had clients have brought very much this kind of issue to our conversations on a number of occasions.
Dan, you were going to say something that
Yeah,
feels like a long time ago now.
No, it was, and it's a new topic. So on the line of preventative care and I suppose I'm speaking to leaders out there or teams out there which are way before anything of this happens, and it's this: make sure you build connection with your team and your team members, and if your leader isn't doing that, that doesn't mean that you can't do it as part of that team. So I've been in teams in the past where our leaders haven't maybe said, "Oh, I haven't got time to organize stuff or to share stories, whatever it may be," but the people on the team can still do that, and they can still try and build a sense of belonging with each other. It doesn't always have to be on the leader.
Yeah.
Although it is their responsibility overall. I truly do believe that. But I think members of the team could step into that space as well and help build that connection. And I think the relationships are much less likely to break down in this fashion if you've got that solid foundation. So I'm talking way before it all kicks off like this.
Yeah.
But it's important for leaders and their teams to build connection and build a sense of belonging with each other. So that'd be my preventative care.
And as you do that, I mean, Sal, I think you touched on this earlier. Just being aware of your own defensiveness is really key, because, and I'm not saying Vicky is in the wrong here at all. This can and does happen to everyone. Often we refuse to listen due to that cognitive dissonance. What you said makes me uncomfortable, and then we put a wall up and we stop to listen. We stop being curious. And when we do that, it prevents other people from understanding us and prevents us from understanding other people. And so the curiosity, I think, is really important, that you lean in, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it's a bit painful as well. It will be painful for Vicky to go and speak to this individual because she's effectively treating her like an equal when that's not what she's had in return.
Yeah.
So having to meet up to try and talk things through and learn about where some of that hurt comes from, why it's there, and even if you get to the bottom of some of what is said, I know Jefferson Fisher in his book, The Next Conversation, he talks about using the phrase, "Is that intended to hurt me?" It's really powerful, just to bring clarity, and also helps the other person really realize what I've done is hurtful to this person. Because if they say no, then you can explore that more. If they say yes, it is, well, the spotlight's very much on them then, isn't it, for why they are creating that kind of hurt. So I think that's really helpful to consider, but just be aware of our own defensiveness.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done. It's difficult. And
also your integrity is your power. I think that you can get strength in it, because again, it can be easy when you're feeling quite cornered almost to react and be emotional, react badly. I think holding yourself well, remaining calm, thinking through what you want to say is the way of kind of gaining some control. So, I just also, again, like I talked about before, just think about the preparation and how you go into these conversations so you're at your best as well. And if for any reason, because it can happen, again, I know I've done this, you've come out and thought that didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to, you can revisit. Look, I'm glad we had that conversation. I think we both got a bit heated though. Shall we follow up? Let's, there may be a couple of things that I'd like to kind of follow up on. It doesn't have to all be done in one conversation, and it's unlikely that it will be done in one conversation, but and also then you're role modeling to other people, because even if people don't know, you don't have to announce that you're having that conversation. Again, a bit like the cues and kind of the different things people will notice that will give them the clue that things have maybe been resolved and, things are improving. They'll pick up on the vibes, around.
Definitely.
I think we're at time. I mean, there's been a lot in there, and as we've highlighted, and you mentioned about how emotive the topic is, I hope that's been helpful to Vicky and to anyone else listening. Even if we were all on the same page very quickly about the frustration of dealing with a topic like this, we've also, I think, highlighted there are multiple different things to consider, options even to take. So I hope that's proven useful. Thank you, everyone, for contributing as always. Those of you listening, please do like and subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. We'd love to gain more listeners and have even more inputs into the topics that we can discuss. If you've got a pain point you'd like us to operate on, then email theleadershipsurgery@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and love to explore it for you. But thanks, everybody, once again, and we'll speak again very soon for another episode.